we're going to continue rebuilding this 2021 KTM 250 SXF. Oil filter cap bolts came out. They're stripped over tightened by the previous owner before him, torqued them to spec, and slowly over time they just continued to get worse. And because of that, one of the screws came out and starved the motor for oil. Luckily he stalled it, tried to turn it over, and it was very drawn down. He looked down and he saw that the cap was squirting oil out. He got extremely lucky. The crank is completely fine. What he was feeling dragging is on this wheel is called the free wheel. This is your one-way bearing on the KTM electric start. This shaft right here has damage on it, as you can see, as well as these bearings in here have a lot of flat spots. This is your free wheel itself. You can see like in the top there, flat spot, and they're all over. So when this was trying to turn over, it was causing a bunch of grinding and drawing the motor down. And then as far as the damage to like his cylinder and piston and all that was perfectly fine. There was one little score in there, but nothing deep enough to worry about. The cylinder got honed. Brand new Vertex piston, which is the OEM style. And we did get brand new intake and exhaust cams, because although there wasn't any damage on the head or the cam bridge, the cam had the slightest bit of wear, and he wants this bike to be 100% for the race season. Assemble the head today and check the valves and just go from there. As you can see, there's no damage to the head or the cam bridge. It's all normal wear. But on the cams themselves, there's like a tiny line you can feel, like very slightly. Mostly on this one right here, as well as this one. There's another line you can feel. So we went ahead and ordered 2 brand new cams. We're also doing a fresh spark plug in here. Who knows how many hours are on this puppy, and it's definitely due to be changed. And this bike at one time got hot, so what we're gonna do is deck the head on a piece of glass with some sandpaper just to make sure it's smooth. I did the same thing with the cylinder, so that we make sure that this head gasket gets a great seal and has no issues. Okay guys, so this is what you're gonna need to deck a head. A piece of glass or something that is flat. You cannot just use any piece of metal because you don't know if it's flat. If it's milled or something, that's fine if you know that it's flat. But it has to be perfectly flat for this to work. And then you take your head here. I already did a little bit. You can see some, it almost looks like cross hatching, like what you see in a cylinder. And you can see these spots are still low spots, so it's gonna sand away the high spot a little bit. When you sand, you go into a figure 8 pattern, and then you rotate the cylinder and you do a figure 8 pattern again, because what it does is it gives it even pressure. So I like using just water, a dab of dish soap to help give it a little bit lubrication, and then I rinse this out often. So yeah, basically you just make sure this is really wet. There's a little bit of soap on there still. You take your head, you set it on there, and you just go figure 8 patterns like this while holding it. The water underneath will hold the paper in place while you do it. You just have to keep your hand on it a little bit. See, it's completely flat. Much better than it was. Okay guys, here we go. Got it basically back together, at least the head and everything. Valves were all within spec. Luckily, the motor doesn't have too much time on it, and the valve spec that was in it with the new cams actually lined up perfectly. They're all within spec. Brand new Dirt Tricks timing chain tensioner, which is better than the OEM one. Timing is all set. I removed the little set pin on the other side that holds the crank. Gave her a nice little test spin over. I'm still waiting on this one-way bearing in here and this gear. But I just wanted to put it together so I could spin it over and feel what it felt like, make sure everything was good. So far, so good. I need to just throw the valve cover back on, torque that down, plug up a couple things, and I think that's basically as far as we're going to get today. I don't have these 7mm bolts, so I'll have to get some and then tap it out on a different day. This is as far as I'm getting today. Still waiting on the freewheel, but got the whole entire motor together. Besides that, I even changed out his oil filter screen. He gave me a new one, a bunch of O-rings, everything. I just kind of went through, made sure everything was up to par, and wiped the motor down for him. Plugged it all up, and just waiting on those parts to come in, and then this will be ready to go on to his bike. Can't wait to see this guy on the track. So I guess until then, peace.